This is the E-Trolley from Green World Bike, and I've actually got two flavors here. This is the standard. It's all folded up, and I was going to go through how that works. And this is sort of the expert, or the advanced model. It's a little bit more expensive. We're going from $9.99 to $12.99, but you get an upgraded battery. It definitely feels a little bit more powerful. The website says you get one extra gear, but the ones that I have here, these models, actually both just have 6 gears, which is fine. And you get a nicer little sort of an LCD display panel, as well as this handle, which definitely helps when folding and unfolding. On the standard version here, you just kind of have to, risk it a little bit and get your fingers in there, and it's not too difficult or anything, but it's worth calling out. They're both about 50 pounds. There is a difference in the batteries. This one's like 36 volt, 8.8 amp hours, and it uses a more generic cell, whereas the sort of the advanced model, it uses Samsung cells. You can see they've proudly denoted that on the side of the battery pack, and it's a 36 volt, 10 amp hour. So you should get increased range with that. Both of them have 250 watt internally geared little hub motors in the back, and both of them have these nice mechanical disc brakes here. It's like Aeons. I'm not sure. I haven't really, seen that brand before. Whooshing brake levers on the standard one, whereas these nice Tektro, the little rubber kind of grip, might help you to maintain traction a little bit better and dampen some vibration. So you can see there's just little upgrades like that between the two bikes. They do come in silver, white, or black. And the disc brake rotors down here are 160 millimeters front and rear, which is pretty good for a little folding bike like this. So again, about 50 pounds for this bike. That's not especially light for a folding electric bike, in my opinion, but I love how compact it gets. You can see that the handlebars are actually, they fold in like this and get really narrow, as well as the pedals down there. And then there's even like kind of a locking point here where when it's folded, see, it kind of clamps down so that it doesn't come unfolded. Kickstand supports it in this upright position, and you can even kind of wheel it forward like this if you want to take it onto an elevator or store it in a closet, that kind of thing. Definitely a unique design, and I like how they actually mounted the battery on this. You can see that it's kind of the plate here is connected to this control box, and it's a little bit more secure in my feeling than the ones that mount like right behind the seat, or there's like a plastic seat post clamp, and sometimes those can kind of like crack if you go off a big bump or something. This, there's still not a ton of there's still some like the precarious balance issues here, maybe a little bit, but it does feel a little bit more secure. The batteries are removable, so you can kind of twist the keys and slide it off. They weigh about 4 pounds, which isn't too bad, and there's the on-off switch. You can kind of see it. It's got a nice little built-in LED light. Here we go. If I try to get this back on here real quick, go ahead and show you the light. If you press that once, actually I might have to turn the battery on, and we press this once. There we go. You can kind of see it's on, and then there's flashing mode. So that's really cool. I like that they've got integrated lights, not just the rear light, also the headlight. Once we turn it on, I'll call that out again. But we've got fenders, both of them. It's going to keep you a little bit cleaner when you're cruising around town. And then this really unique wheel size that's slightly smaller than a lot of the folding electric bikes. This 16 by 2.125 Kenda tires, sort of this, I don't know, all-terrain, I guess. Got a nice rubber solid stripe down the middle for smooth rolling, but a little bit of traction and grip on the sides. There's no suspension on this bike, other than the suspension seat post, which definitely helps. We've got kind of a padded Velo saddle on this one. It's another area where they call out the differences. This just has sort of a generic seat, but it feels similar in my opinion. They even look fairly similar. So it's like, they're both decent comfort. There's not a lot of room on them, however, when you're sitting. So I brought my tape measure along. I usually kind of measure from the seat post right here. Let's see. Kind of start there, and then I go down to the bottom bracket. It's about 14 inches. So that's how, I guess, the size that you would relate this frame to. And then if I measure across here, it's about 19 inches. So that's kind of your reach if you're reaching forward. It doesn't look like the stem is telescoping. And if I measure that, looks like it comes down, it's like 16 inches down to the mounting point here, and the standover height is something like 17 or 18 inches. So it's really compact. If you're a big person or a heavy person, this might not be the right bike for you, but you can make sure that it doesn't fail on you by looking back down here and making sure that when you get on, you've kind of got that clamp in place so that nothing caves in on you. Of course, they've got the plastic folding pedal connector point, but these ones are actually upgraded to kind of aluminum alloy, whereas they're just pure plastic over on the standard version. So quite a few little upgrades, and you know, it's like a few $100 to get them. I think the biggest, most noticeable difference is the power. The top speed on this one, when I was test riding it, was like 27 kilometers per hour for me. Again, I weigh like 135 pounds, and that's something like 17 miles per hour. Their website says 16 miles per hour, so you know, we're kind of in the range. Maybe that one's a little closer to 16 or 15. And that's still pretty good if you're cruising along and, you know, trying to get from your hotel to your boat or to the downtown market or something like that. There's not a whole lot of storage room on these. You know, you might be able to add like a little kind of a rack or something like that, like a beam rack. There's no water bottle cage, that kind of thing. A lot of times if I'm riding a folding bike, I'll have a backpack with me just to carry extra gear. These do pedal all right. Again, I was calling out the 6 speeds. Just a very generic Shimano, I guess it's tourney drivetrain here. I do like that they've got this nice bash guard that kind of keeps it from getting messed up if the bike tips over sideways. And that they lean it, of course, to the left so that if it does tip, you know, this side of the bike is a lot less vulnerable. And you don't have to leave the keys in when riding. I'm going to just for our ride, but that's kind of nice. You know, they won't jingle around. You can keep them in your pocket. Keeps the whole thing pretty secure. And again, another benefit of that battery pack position is it's just a lower to the ground. And it keeps it pretty centrally located. Like, this isn't bad. It's a fairly balanced design, and there are enough gears here to pedal it comfortably. Really big chain ring up here, and I think that helps to offset the smaller wheel diameter, 16 inches, whereas if you had a big, really wide wheel and you were going off-road, you'd probably want, you know, smaller cogs on this to give you a more mechanical advantage. And that's one of the benefits, you know, this being a 250 watt motor, that's not especially large. It's kind of like the standard in Europe, but in the United States, we can go up to 750. By keeping it a little bit smaller like that, it's just going to get better range. It's a little bit lighter, and because the wheel size is smaller, it actually performs really well. It's got good leverage on that wheel. I think that's a pretty good overview. Gives you some sense of what we're working with here. Might be a good idea to go ahead and just head up front. Look at these grips and stuff. We've got padded, stitched grips, just like plastic plugs on the end. This one didn't have the plastic plug, and you know, I noticed you could twist it if you really bear down, but it's probably not a huge risk. Something like this, you're probably not going to be going off-road. It does have brake lever inhibitors, which is really handy because there's a walk mode on this, and I activated it earlier, and it was like, it was out of control, and you know, you hit the brake lever, and it kills it, which is great. The LCD display is nice because it gives you a little bit more, just a better understanding of how fast, how far you're going. I definitely prefer this. So we hold down that sort of on-off button in the center, and it comes to life, and you can see we've got a nice 6-bar battery level indicator, a speedometer here, set to kilometers per hour, odometer, and then assist level. And it started out in assist level 1, or 1 bar, but you can take it all the way down and turn off pedal assist. I actually prefer using the throttle on this bike, as it's just standard, you know, trigger throttle, but it's pretty smooth. And I felt like the cadence sensor, you know, it's really tucked in back here. It's only a 5 magnet sensor, so the little dots go past that sensor right there. 5 magnets is kind of as low as I've seen, and that means that you've got to have several pedal rotations, is what it feels like sometimes, before the motor is actually responding. And a couple of times I've been in pedal assist level 5, which is going to offer the most power. And when it finally does catch, you know, I'm pedaling and I'm like, oh, is it working? Is it working? Whoa! And then it, like, you know, it really jolts forwards. And when you're on a bike like this, it's not too stable to begin with. That was a little bit uncomfortable, and it left me feeling a little, it was kind of startling. So, I don't know, might be able to switch between those two. Of course, pedal assist is going to help you conserve the battery a little bit more. encourages you to pedal. So I guess it's a trade-off. If you hold that top button for a couple seconds, it activates the headlight, which is nice. So again, we got the rear light and the headlight both being run off that battery pack. I like that a lot. We've got the reflectors on the pedals and on the lights, and just good safety features that way. I'm gonna go ahead and try to show you the walk assist that I was talking about, and that's just good if you're carrying like a backpack and you're walking the bike home for whatever reason you don't want to ride it. Maybe you're up a steep hill. Instead of having to push the bike will kind of push itself. So go ahead and stow this kickstand, kind of push up like that. There we go. Go ahead and hold down for a couple seconds, and there we go. Okay, so I let go of the button right now. Like it's completely driving itself. To stop this, just pull the brake lever. Okay, because otherwise it will just keep going. And at first that kind of surprised me, but it makes sense, because if you had to hold that down the whole time, that would be a little bit uncomfortable. So yeah, maybe it's a good time to hop on and show you what this thing can do. A little bit of weight on it. Yeah, it's mounting it. Again, I'm gonna show you my body position. There's not like a whole lot of room on this thing, and my knees even kind of come pretty close to the front when pedaling. And I have raised the seat quite a bit so that, you know, I've got a decent kind of a reach on my leg, but it's compact, you know, like a lot of folding electric bikes. It's pretty compact. So here we're gonna hit the throttle, show you the motor. Zippy little thing. Woo! There we go, getting a brake test in. Now I'm gonna do pedal assist, so watch for my pedaling and try to listen for the motor. Hasn't started yet. Oh, there we go. See how delayed that was? It's just incredible. You know, I'm almost surprised. It's like you're pedaling, and then out of nowhere, it's like boom, and you get that big jolt of energy. So, you know, that's why I was saying I wasn't a huge fan of the like 5 magnet cadence sensor. There it goes again. I guess at least it has pedal assist, but I think I'd end up using the trigger throttle a lot more, because it's a lot smoother. Definitely feels more stable that way. And in the lower levels of assist, maybe it's not so jarring. Like if we're at level 2 here, pedaling, there we go. It still kind of comes in with a real delay, but it's not so jerky because the motor's not pushing so much. So yeah, that's kind of it. Very cool. So that's the E-Trolley from Green World Bikes. Got a couple of different versions, and they offer something sort of unique. You know, it's definitely an electric bike that is compact. It's not especially lightweight, but it feels pretty durable to me. Make sure you lock that folding mechanism there. I had a friend who was riding on this bike and said that they kind of bumped it and the bike folded on them, and in my experience that hasn't been an issue. And I do like that they've kind of got chain guard and everything here, so you know the chain shouldn't be falling off. Everything feels pretty secure, including that seat post suspension. I really like that. So anyway, for the full write-up on this and other folding electric bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Ride safe.